Hello and welcome to our first ever Paul Bear Bryant Awards Heart of the Game series. I'm Andrew Monaco, voice of the Aggies. Howdy. Thanks for joining me. And joining me is my lovely co-host, and you might know her from her podcast, The Boss and the Gloss. Howdy, Carla Dawson.
Hello, Andrew. Thank you so much. And everybody, welcome to our inaugural event that is the first in a 4-part series where you, our American Heart Association and Bryant Award sponsors, are going to get an inside look into the lives of coaching legends.
As a reminder, please stay muted throughout today's call. Be sure to use the chat box. You can type in any questions or comments. We will pass them along. Today, we are more than honored and thrilled to have Coach Sylvester Croom join us. Coach Croom was a 3-year letterman at Alabama. He was the starting center on the 1973 national championship team that played for Coach Paul Bear Bryant. He went on to have an illustrious coaching career in both college and professional football that spanned over 3 decades and included being named the first African-American head football coach in SEC history when he was named head football coach at Mississippi State in 2004. It also was announced just last month that Coach Croom will be receiving the Heart of a Champion Award at the Bryant Awards this January.
And this event is meant to be an interactive event. So we need you all to please submit your questions in the chat box, and we will pass them on to Coach Croom. Andrew and I have a few of our own to start off. So Coach Croom, if you're ready, we would love to invite you in to join us. How about that?
Well, great, guys. I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to have a lot of fun here today.
Well, we're so glad you're here, and you bring 30 years of coaching excellence, 30 years from the college and professional level for us to unpack today. So let's not waste time. Let's get started. So, Coach, tell us, did you always know you wanted to be a football player and a head coach?
Not a head coach. I always wanted to play football. I love the game. My dad was a high school coach. He was a teacher and a minister, and of course, so Friday night for me when I was growing up when I was a little boy was being in the stadiums on Friday night at Riverside High School in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So I always loved the game. I loved it so much. I used to play when I couldn't get guys to play with, I'd play by myself in the yard. I put my uniform on and go out and kick field goals and play by myself. But actually, I never decided to get into coaching until, after I played at Alabama. I had planned to go into education. I wanted, believe it or not, I wanted to be a school superintendent. And I was going to go to graduate school to get my doctorate degree. But Coach Bryant asked me to come back and to be a graduate assistant on the staff, and from there I fell in love with it. Particularly after my students, after one day of student teaching, after the best lesson plan that ever been presented by a student teacher, they walked out the classroom and left their books in there that night. I said, I don't know if this is for me.
Coach, playing for Coach Bear Bryant, what was it like playing for him? And when did you learn that his football lessons were also life lessons?
Well, first of all, playing for Coach Bryant was tough. And, my dad and Coach Bryant got to be pretty close after they met each other. And they were a lot alike. What I tell people all the time is I was taught a lot of life lessons at home, but Coach Bryant put us in a laboratory and made us have to use them. The laboratory of Alabama football. The character, the hard work, the discipline, the preparation, the ability to hang tough when things to stick with whatever you start. Those were the things I was taught at home. And Coach Bryant definitely made sure that we learned those lessons on the football field.
And Coach Croom, how would you best describe your leadership philosophy and style?
Well, leadership to me is truly about service. And that's why I have, I think, the best leaders, whether they're coaches, whether they're in no matter what field you're in, It's about what you do is about caring about other people and taking care of their needs first. I guess when people ask me about leadership, I think about my granddad, who was not an educated man. In fact, he had a third grade education. But when we would have family meals, he was the patriarch of the family. But when we'd have gatherings, he had 12 kids, and when the grandkids got around, there may be 30, 40 people in the house. He was the last guy to sit at the table. And I used to wonder why, since he was the patriarch of the family. And my mother told me that when they were growing up, they had very little resources. So he never ate until everybody else had their food. So that if they ran out of anything, he would be the one that did not eat. Now, to me, that's leadership. Wherever the people that you're supposed to be leading, you take care of their needs first. Everything you do, every decision you make is based on what's good for the people you're leading. As a football coach, every practice you do, every drill you do, every lesson you teach is for the benefit and welfare of those players, not only for that team then, but for those players when they leave school, and also the effects you're going to have on their families later on. Because to me, that's the thing that coaches really have to understand when they're coaching young players. They're not only coaching those players and affecting their life, they will affect the lives of those players' children and their grandchildren. So the lessons they learn and how they teach. And the other thing that I learned, I was talking with Shane Beamer this morning. He just got the job in South Carolina, and he was asking, just coach, what do I need to? What would you tell me? I say one thing that I learned, and I learned that, and it didn't really hit me until I got out of coaching, until my head coaching had ended. When I talk to players who played for me, they constantly remind me of things that I said, things that I did, that I vaguely remember. And what that tells me is when I didn't think they were watching, when I didn't think they were listening, is they listen and hear everything you say. They may not respond the way you want them to respond to it at that time, but they hear it. So you have to be careful what you say, how you say it, when you say it, what you do, how you do it at all times, because young people are watching you. And if you're true to your word, it'll stick with them. Because if you're a liar, they'll know it.
What does it mean to your former players when they see you to call you coach? How powerful is that when they call you coach?
It's a great honor, and that's the satisfaction of coaching, and it is when those kids call and send me pictures of their kids. My players, I shouldn't call them kids, they're grown men now. When they send me pictures of their kids and their wives and their families, and send me updates on how they're doing and what they're doing and how much they appreciated what our staff and what we try to do for them, I mean, it makes it all worth it. You don't always remember the scores of the games, and you don't always remember some of the things that happen on Saturdays, but that makes it all worth it.
And Coach, when you think back on players in your career that have really stood out to you, not only for their athletic ability, but are there certain characteristics or attributes that they share that really make them special to you? Who are the ones that are special to you, and what made them that way?
Well, I've been around a lot of guys I coached, guys I coached against, but I have to say, guys, that first group of players I had at Alabama, I started coaching with Coach Bryant when I was 22 years old, and the guys on those first couple of teams, the first guy I had in my position who was EJ Jr., who's in the NCAA Hall of Fame now. And then I just had a run of players. And when I think about 22, 23 years old, those first 3 years of my career, I had EJ Jr., I had Mike Pitts, who was a first round draft choice with Atlanta Falcons, and he was the first kid that I ever signed and recruited and signed. And then I get Cornelius Bennett and Derek Thomas. That's four pretty good players right there. and I was a pretty good coach when I was 22.
And a good recruiter, I might add.
I was a pretty good coach, let me tell you. You got those guys, you're pretty good. And I didn't know what I was doing. but they made me look good. And then, I go on and but I had some other guys in that group. I had a kid named Gary De Niro in that guy, and a guy named Dewey Mitchell. They weren't great players, but those guys maxed out on the ability they had. And then when I went to Mississippi State, I had one of the guys that's really, really special to me. He's a high school coach down over in Mississippi, and he won a couple of state championships. A kid named Brett Morgan. Brett Morgan never started for us at Mississippi State. But when I went there, he was a quarterback, and he wasn't a great quarterback. And I asked him, I said, Brett, I want to move you to safety to play so you can get on the field. He said, Coach, I want to stay a quarterback because I want to be a coach. And I want to learn the offense. I said, that's what you want to do. And he said, but Coach, I'll do anything. This guy was a quarterback for us. He wasn't a starter, but he was on all the special teams. It makes me think about that kid that Sean Payton got down in New Orleans, Taysom Hills. He wasn't that kind of talent, but he would do anything. He was the first guy down on just about all our kickoffs. No great athlete, no great speed or nothing, but I love the guy because he was unselfish. He put the team first. And those guys sort of stand out for me. And then I think about in pro football, I never had a chance to be with them, but two guys stood out to me. One was Reggie White. I recruited Reggie White when I was at Alabama, didn't get him. I remember the first day I saw Reggie White, I went up, I didn't know him. I wasn't the main recruiter, but I went up to his school, and I'd never seen Reggie. And but I was supposed to go there and meet him and talk to him the day about coming to Alabama. And the coach said, the principal said, well, Reggie down in the gym. And I said, well, tell me what he looks like. He said, Coach, when you walk in there, you won't have to have anybody tell you who Reggie is. I walk in there and I see this guy 6'5", about 280, 90 pounds as a senior in high school with a sweater, a white shirt, and a towel. And he was walking around the gym, and you thought he was one of the teachers. So you knew right then, I said, that must be Reggie White. And he is a different dude. You knew right then he was special. For a guy to wear a tie to school every day, they say he wears that tie to school every day, even then. Mm-hmm. And he was special. And things I saw him do on the football field, I hadn't seen anybody else do. And then another guy who was very special to me was when I watched him was Mike Singletary.
Oh yeah.
Was coaching against him, and I'll never forget we were playing Mike one time and up in Chicago. It was at the end of his career, and they weren't as good as they had been. That they weren't the '85 Bears anymore. And I'll never forget we were driving to score on him, and he calls timeout on defense. Now we're moving the football and it's late in the game, and he stopped it. And he called timeout so he could chastise his defensive players on a lot of younger guys that they weren't playing up to Chicago. And I could hear him, and I stood there. I said, now that's a grown man out there. But those guys impress you. And then a guy like Brett Favre, Brett was just a great competitor. One of the most impressive things I saw at Green Bay, I used to wonder why, when I was at other places and playing against him, he was so good in the 2-minute drill. He's one of the best ever that's been in the 2-minute drill. Well, when I got to Green Bay, I found out why. I thought it was just something innate about him. It wasn't. On Mondays, the only thing they really did on Mondays after games was they would come in, the Packers would come in late, and after they walked through plays, they would have a 2-minute drill every Monday. And when they got ready to have the 2-minute drill, you would think most players would hate doing a 2-minute drill on Monday. But Brett was so excited about practicing the drill, and they They bet money on the drill with the defense. And it was the most intense competitive thing I have ever seen in the National Football League. And guys would be mad when the guy, whoever lost, the defensive players and the offensive players, and they had wagers on the game on the 2-minute drills, and it was intense as to who would win and who would lose. And it carried, but it showed just when a great player, and the great players on offense, and they had some great players on defense, when they took it that serious, it carried into the game when they got it to the field. And so practice made perfect.
That's the iron sharpen iron, right?
That's it. No doubt. Yeah. No doubt about that.
Question for you. Please ask, what was worse, getting chewed out by your dad or Coach Bryant?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. It was about the same. I mean, it was, for me personally, I think it was that way with a lot of players that played for Coach Bryant, and especially with my dad. You did not want to disappoint him. That was what both men held over. And I have the highest respect. I still say today, I hadn't, Coach Bryant, my dad, and my granddad are the three most impressive men I've ever met in my life. And all three of them was, what they held over me was I never wanted to disappoint them. Never. And even today, I never forget, Coach Bryant once told me, said, hey, if I turned out to be half the man my dad was, I'd be okay. And I said, well, I think back now, I said, that's the only time he was happy. He approved of me grading 50%.
So conversely, what about praise? How important, how impressed, what kind of impression was it when you got praise from those two?
Oh, it's just, I mean, that's all I care about. When I look at guys, I never thought about playing for the media, of playing for everybody wants to be respected, but all I wanted was and I think it was that way with most of the guys that played at Alabama. All you wanted to do was for Coach Bryant to say you're a winner. That's it. Bottom line. On his show at 5 o'clock, we would all watch his, because we didn't have meetings with Coach Bryant on Sundays after games, like a lot of guys do now. Mm-hmm. So what we would do, we would all, the Bear Bryant show was on at 5 o'clock. So we were all sitting in the TV room at the Bryant Hall watching the Coach Bryant show. Because what you wanted to do is see, you could tell by his comments and all the little buzzwords, and hey, first of all, you wanted to see him say something good about, anything good about a play that you made in the game. And then, hey, then you walk around the rest of the week, hey, you good to go. Your chest stuck out. And it was the same thing. It was the same thing with my dad. Hey, after games, he never critiqued my performance. I could look in his eye and tell, though. It was that handshake after the game. You knew. And you could tell the way he shook hands. I didn't need nothing else.
Well, we've got some questions in the chat box for you, Coach Croom. Are you ready to go to the public?
I'm ready to go.
All right, well, let's do this. Okay, so from James and Val, we've got a good one here. He says, Coach, my son is coaching in the semifinals in Louisiana tomorrow night. What advice would you give a group of high school players playing deep into the playoffs?
Is enjoy the experience and play it, every play, like it's the last play you'll ever play again. Because playing in championship games, they don't happen very often. And don't miss the chance. Don't think next year we'll be back, because you may not be again. So have no regrets when it's over.
Coach Jim Carmen wants to know, what college coaches today do you respect the most, not just for their ability to win games, but for what they teach and instill in their players about life and leadership?
Well, Dabo Swinney is one of the top ones on my list. Dabo and Coach Saban, I got the greatest respect for both of them. I know them both personally, and I watch the programs, how they do things. Both of their personalities are a little bit different, but those things I talked about earlier, they genuinely care about their players. And I know a lot of the players at Alabama. I had a chance to coach Derrick Henry when I was at Tennessee. The guy I loved coaching, and a lot of those, they have nothing but positive things to say about their experience in Alabama. And same thing with the guys that I know that played for Coach Sweeney at Clemson. And hey, I'm a little bit biased. Alabama's my alma mater. Dabo played at Alabama. A lot of my good friends are at Clemson, but I know those programs pretty well inside out. And I got nothing but respect for both of them.
Well, and there's no accident that those two coaches are at the top of the
There's no
football
doubt.
poll every year. The trading off championships. That's not an accident.
It's no accident, but it has a lot to do with those two men.
Well, Coach Croom, you've coached at both the collegiate and the professional level. And what are the differences? Like in coaching in college, what are things that you don't have to deal with that you deal with in the NFL and vice versa? Compare those for us.
Well, the biggest difference is the game is different, and it's the recruiting is totally is big a different for us in NFL and college, because that time that coaches spend college coaches spend probably, I'd say, 70% of their time on recruiting.
Wow.
The assistant coaches, at least that much. NFL coaches spend 99% of their time on football.
Wow.
and probably, I'd say probably 98%. Most of the teams in the NFL, the coaches are only involved in personnel decisions as far as the evaluation is in after the combine, February, March, and where they really do their film study, getting ready for the draft. So that makes it, the game, the schemes are a lot more intense in the NFL. I mean, there's a lot more to learn. I mean, on every team, there's the playbooks are so huge, and the volume of material that has to be learned is unbelievable. I mean, there's some games I'm sure they probably go into games with 200 to 300 plays on each side of the ball, and when you every week is like a new game, is a totally new, almost a totally new playbook, and so there's a lot of learning that has to be done. The other thing that's different is the age groups. In college, you're dealing with teenagers. In the NFL, you're dealing with young men, anywhere from young guys in their early 20s to guys in their late 30s. So you're talking about fully grown men with families. I mean, they have kids, and it's a job. It's still a game that's being played, but it is a job. And the money and the fact that it is a job it's a temporary one, but it is a job. And it's you have to approach it that way. And coaches are not, in college, you're more involved in the development of young people, in their personal growth. In the NFL, you don't get involved in a grown man's personal life unless you're invited in. As long as he's doing his work, what he does away from the office, that's not any of your business. and you have to respect that. But at the same time, there are great similarities, because again, at both levels, all the players want is to know that you're trying to do everything you can to give them a maximum opportunity of reaching their maximum potential.
Coach, you are a barrier breaker. What are you most proud of?
Well, I'm most thankful for having gotten a chance to be a head coach because at one point I thought I would never. I thought the racial barriers that I would never get that opportunity. And like I said, I didn't start out with the idea of being a head coach, but once I got into it, there were some things I wanted a chance to have to coach the game and put some of my ideals and thoughts, see them come to fruition. But at the same time, I wanted to be able to pass on to some young men some of the things that I learned from my dad and Coach Bryant. And I thought, by being a head coach, I'd get a chance to do that. And that opportunity, I really enjoyed. But the people at Mississippi State gave me a chance to fulfill my dream, and the things that we believed in there, and the impact it had on those players is what I'm most proud of.
We've got a question for you, Coach, from Jason. He asks, what stadium or crowd has the best environment to watch or play a game in? I bet you've seen some good ones in that SEC, that wild, wild SEC.
I've seen some good ones. I tell you what. Okay, let's start in college first.
All right.
And I'm just gonna say, hey, it's two places even now, if it wasn't for this COVID thing, I would have already done it. So on my bucket list, I'm going back to Neyland Stadium for Alabama and Tennessee. I got to do that one more time. I mean, still, see, that was my first big road game. The first time we played Tennessee was my sophomore year when we went up there. And when I crossed that bridge and saw those boats come down that river, I said, "You got to be kidding me!" I said, "This stuff is serious now." That's when I realized how serious that game is. When I saw those boats coming down the river, I said, "You get on the water to go to the game?" I said, "It's pretty serious." So, and the other places, and I always loved playing in Baton Rouge. Now, contrary to what the LSU fans, when I was we were never intimidated about playing in Baton Rouge. We actually liked going down there. So I just want them to know that. There was no intimidation. We like playing in
Death Valley did not scare you.
Oh, we love the place. It's a home away from home. But now, okay, now other places that were impressive now. One of the noisiest places, believe it or not, when I was at Alabama and we played at Nebraska, we literally were standing face to face and could not hear each other on the sideline. I mean, the people stood up the entire ball game, not sometimes. They stood up the whole game, and we could not hear a thing in that stadium. So that one's always impressed me. But my favorite stadium of all, and one of the great experiences, and I still get excited about it, is there's something special about playing at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. That's a special place. I mean, the Chiefs fans and the whole deal, that horse come running out of there, boy, that's impressive. And then the other place that's hard to play, I hate even bringing them up because in some ways I feel like they've got an advantage because some of it's due to engineering, is at Seattle. That's, you can't hear in that stadium. But I don't know if it's fair because it's not organic.
I wonder now with COVID if that's different with the 12th man in Seattle.
It's got to be, but I'm sure they probably piping, so that they probably piping the 12th man in. I'm sure they are, but it can't be like it normally is. There's no way.
Coach, looking back, another question that is being asked. Do you feel like you accomplished all you wanted to do in your coaching career?
No, no, I didn't. I don't have a Super Bowl ring. I wanted one of those. And the only regrets I have as the head coach at Mississippi State, we had 19 guys. The year I was fired, we had 19 guys committed, and one of them was Fletcher Cox. One of them was big guard playing, starting for the Oakland Raiders. Gabe, I forget Gabe's last name. But just to put it this way, 10 of those 19 guys played in the National Football League. I would like to have had a chance to coach them. They were committed, and they had already committed to me that year before, and that's the only regret. Had I had a chance to coach those guys and didn't win games, I'd have fired myself.
Well, we don't want to see that happen. Coach, how do you feel about the era that we're in now where college players can opt out of bowl games, and they do, for their NFL career? You've coached on both sides. How do you feel about that?
I don't have a problem with it. One of the things that a lot of things that once I became a head coach, and I wasn't one of the highest paid head coaches, but let me tell you something, guys. Hey, these head coaches make I made good money when I was a head coach. And when I thought about the players, particularly at that time, and there were times I felt a little guilty about it, to be honest with you, because it was the players, these guys, to limit their benefits, to limit their mobility. While as a coach, I'm making money, and hey, if they play well, hey, I got a chance to move up and make more money somewhere else. And there's nothing to stop me from going. They should have, I hear people say, hey, they shouldn't be paid. I don't know if you call it pay or whatever, but they should have some financial benefits in this. They should have the freedom to make some decisions for their well-being. I have no problem with that.
As the father of a son who played center, who held his breath on every snap, we hear so much about quarterbacks. One, that relationship between quarterback and center is so important. But can you also talk about how that position and all the responsibilities impacted you as a player with that responsibility? And did it help you as a coach?
Oh, yeah. I never understood it. When I first got playing Alabama, one of the things Coach Bryant always said was, and I learned this, he was saying in our meetings as player, but of course I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it at the time. But he always talked about being strong down the middle of the football team. And on offense, he was talking about center, quarterback, and we run the wishbone at that time, and fullback. On defense, he was talking about we ran an odd man front. He was talking about the nose guard, the safety, and those linebackers. And I didn't understand it until I started playing center. And then once I started coaching, he always looked at playing the game from inside out, down the middle of the defense. And if you're weak, and you think about it, if you're weak at either one of those positions, on offense, the center, the quarterback, and your running back, and on defense, vice versa, as I mentioned before, you're not going to be very good. And the center is important. Nothing starts without the center. He's got his hand on that ball every snap. And one, is not easy snapping the ball and moving. Snapping the ball and moving, and now centers have to do it with the quarterbacks under center and from the shotgun. And if you put a great player, a great defensive player, just think about this. If you put two athletes of equal talent, one at center, one at nose guard, now the center's got to snap the ball. The defensive guy can go both ways on him. If that center hadn't helped, the defensive guy's got his advantage. A great center is worth his weight in gold, especially physically, if he's talented enough to block a nose guard, pass protect on the run game and pass protection, smart enough to handle all the blocking schemes. Other than the quarterback, he's the next guy that's got to know everything. You know, he's got to know all the pass protection. He's got to know all the run blocking scheme, all the checks. He's got to anticipate what the quarterback's going to do, make all these calls, you know, talk to all these other guys, while at the same time, he's got to hear his quarterback signal and not forget to snap. The worst thing I ever did one time is I'm so embarrassed by it, is I was checking, we had a trap call. We were playing Vanderbilt. I'll never forget my senior year. And I hated trap plays because we had two different ones, and on one of them I went to the play call, and on the other one I blocked away from the play call. So I'm trying to make the call, and for some reason I thought the quarterback audible. So I'm sitting there, oh my gosh, you know, do I keep this on the original count, or do what I said? So of course I don't do nothing. I don't snap the ball, and everybody else jumps. So, you know, hey, I just jogged back to, hey man, y'all outside. I wouldn't claim it, man. I'll tell you the truth. But it's hard. But I love to watch centers play, and the good ones are fun playing. You know, I really like to watch the good ones.
We've got some more questions coming in for you too, Coach. Did you happen to see the Junction Boys? And if you did it portray Bear Bryant accurately?
Yeah. I tell you what, I've got, and I'm sure that if you ever saw it, Andrew, you got to know this. I'm sure you know Coach Stallings around there.
Yep.
And I tell people all the time, I know how tough it was for us at Alabama. Anybody who played at Alabama, we all got a great respect for anybody who was at the Junction. Mm-hmm. Because those guys that survived that, hey, I take my hat off to them all the time. And Coach Stallings was one of them. Mm-hmm. And because there was a whole lot of days at Alabama, I wanted to hang it up. And I was talking with Wilbur Jackson last week, and one of the things I told him, I said, Jack, I really appreciated the leadership and the model he set for me, is because there was a whole lot of days that, hey, I wanted to quit, but there was a bond between us that we couldn't let the other guys down. And we could not have gotten it through it without each other. And yet you think about it, what a lot of it was, the intention of what Coach Bryant was doing was to create that bond between individuals, where when he went into games, when he went into tough situations, the same thing would happen. You would never quit on the other guy in the fourth quarter, because you weren't going to let your teammates down. And that was the essence of any teams that Coach Bryant ever had a part of, is that he built a team where guys sacrificed one another and guys played for each other. Because at some point during a game, during a season, and I got so much respect for these players this year playing through this COVID season. Those guys are playing for each other. Mm-hmm. You know, they're playing for each other. And the ones that have hung in there and hey, you got to have a lot of respect, because this has been tough on everybody this year, but it's especially tough on athletes, because the game itself is tough enough. And having to deal with this, and the ones who decided to play and stay with this thing and fight through it all the way, hey, we should all take our hats off to these guys, because this one, there has never been a season like this, and I pray to God there never is again.
Amen.
You're right. Along those lines, Taylor Rowe just asked, she says, I played D1 soccer. What qualities do you think set athletes in general apart?
Is the willing to make the sacrifices necessary to compete and win. Mm-hmm. You got to give up a lot. You got to give up a lot just to be on a team. But to be an elite player on a championship team, there's a whole lot of sacrifices you got to give up. I don't know if I can paraphrase this statement that Tom Brady made. It's that tells you about the heart of a champion. Is he said, it's when he plays against another team, how much of your life are you willing to give up? Because he's given up his whole life to win games. Now, what that means is there's no off season. He's doing something mentally and physically every single day. You can't eat what everybody else eats. You can't go to the parties that everybody else go to. You can't take vacations like everybody else take. Because if you're going to beat the great people, they're out somewhere working. And in order to have a chance to beat them, you got to go to work every day. You got to work to get better every day. To hear stories about, guys saying a guy like Kobe Bryant, they play a road game. Everybody gets back in on the plane and go home. He goes straight to the gym. That's what guys do. That's what the elite guys do. Is the willingness to make the sacrifice and not complain. Hey, it's what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
Here's a good question for you, Coach.
Yes.
So you're hired as a head coach. Name your dream team coaching staff.
Dream team coaching staff. Oh, my goodness. Well, shucks, I just hired Coach Bryant, and then I'll let him run things.
You can't go wrong there.
I take Coach Bryant, Coach Saban, and then I'll get me a chair to sit over in the corner and watch him work. I'd be the CEO.
I think you've got a good plan here. I like it.
Just proves how smart all centers are, right? It just proves it.
That's exactly right.
Coach, cannot thank you enough. This time has just absolutely flown. You are a legend, my friend, and we're honored to be here and in your presence and all your wisdom. We're looking forward to seeing you again, though, on January 13th. That is at the Paul Bear Bryant Awards. You'll receive the Heart of a Champion Award. We're also so thankful for Marathon Oil, our presenting sponsor of the Bryant Awards, and all of our sponsors. But Coach, what a great, great time. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
Before we sign off, we'd be remiss if we didn't remind you that the national auction is going on for just one more day. That's right. It ends tomorrow, Friday at 12 noon Central Time. So there's a link in the chat box to the auction. So bid away. Bring your holiday spirit to the national auction. We would love it. Thank you for your support.
A pleasure.
What a
Carla.
wonderful person. Wonderful person. Coach Croom.
Thanks, you guys.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Happy and safe holidays to you.
Same to all you guys. I appreciate everything.
And congratulations. We'll see you in January.
Okay, thanks.